Once you've started Spyder for the first time, this is actually what you should see. Spyder is a so-called IDE, an integrated development environment. That means it actually has a lot of features that help you to develop your code or your model. For example, we have a console here, we have a script editor here, and many other things. But before we want to look at all the features that Spyder actually offers you, I want to show you how you create projects. Creating a project is useful because if you want to start writing a model or do some work in Python, it is useful to store all your files and your data and your output in a consistent way in one directory. And it is useful to tell Spyder that a particular directory is a project, because then Spyder will actually help you to organize it and save all kinds of useful stuff. So in case you want to create a new project, you click on Projects, you click on New Project, you decide whether you actually want to turn an existing directory into a Spyder project, or you want to create a new directory. For now, assume you want to create a new directory. You then have to type in the name, and then you have to choose the location here. Then you click on Open, and then you click on Create. And then Spyder will have created the new project for you. You will notice this because here the appearance of the Project Explorer has changed. Now, the first thing you want to do if you have created a new project is to create folders that give your project structure. Because there are some things that you will always create, like Python scripts, output figures, data. It is better to store these things in particular folders so that actually you do not lose sight about what you've actually done. I will suggest to you a certain folder structure that I found extremely useful to work with. Of course, you can do it differently, but throughout this tutorial, we will actually use this folder structure. And I suggest to you that this is the first thing that you should do if you create a new project. Now, to create a new folder or a new directory in your Python project, you could obviously open your File Explorer and create the directories in there. But Spyder as an IDE actually allows you to create folders directly from within. To do this, you can click here on File Explorer and you can make a right click. You choose New and you click on Folder, and now you can actually create a new folder in your main project directory. The first folder you should always have is a folder in which you save all your Python scripts. So often this is called the source folder, or it might also be called Python. The advantage of calling it Python is that if you also use other programming languages in your project, you can actually easily separate them by having a different folder for different scripts in different programming languages. If you click on OK, you will actually see here that Spyder has created this folder for you. And if you look in your File Explorer, you can actually see that this folder has also been created there. A second folder that you should always have is a folder for all the output that you create. So, for example, if you create a figure, then this should go into a particular folder. Otherwise, you will lose track about all the different things you have created. A third thing that is usually very useful to have is a folder for your data. Not all of your projects will make use of data, but in case they do, it is definitely good to have a folder in which you store your data, to have it all in one place. Then another thing I usually add is a folder for text. So, for example, if I write a paper or want to make short notes, in which I explain to me something in the project, then I place them into this folder text. And then, because what always happens is that you actually create some files, scripts, whatever, that you do not know how to allocate. It's usually a bad idea to place these files here in the actually in the home directory of your project. So it's better to make some folder, call it maybe MISC, where you can actually place all the stuff in that you don't know where to allocate it elsewhere. If you have this folder structure, that will save you actually a lot of effort because whatever you are looking for, you immediately know in which folder it is, and you will not end up with a home directory full of different PDF files, scripts, CSV data files, and so on. Now let us explore the landscape of the Spyder IDE. As I already said, the Spyder is an integrated development environment, which means it actually provides you with all the tools you need to write good Python code or to develop your model. On the left side here, you see the Project Explorer. The Project Explorer basically gives you an overview about all the folder, the directories, and the scripts and data that is in your project. It is very similar to the File Explorer that you see here in this pane. Therefore, I usually do not use the Project Explorer because its features are very similar. You can get rid of it by clicking on the X here, so you get more space. The File Explorer here is very similar and gives you an overview about the directories and all the data files in your project. Here you have the script editor. If you start Spyder, it automatically creates a temporary script file into which you can write Python code. If you click here on New, you can create a new script in which you can write valid Python code, save it for later, and then reuse it. This is incredibly useful, and this is what we will do most of the time in this tutorial. Down here, you see the Python console. You can think of it as a direct connection to your computer. So here you can actually issue Python commands to your computer, and if the syntax is correct and the computer understands what you want to tell him or her, then actually it executes these commands immediately. So for example, if we type here 2 + 2, which is actually valid Python code, and we click enter, then the computer immediately executes this Python code. Scripts work in a very similar fashion, although you write this code down here and you can execute this code. You can execute this code by marking it and then by clicking here on this button or clicking F9. And then you see that actually Python is executing, or Spyder is executing this code here for you in the console. There are a number of advantages of using scripts rather than typing stuff here into the console directly, because these scripts can be saved and they can be reused later. So if you want to write a very complex model, it doesn't make much sense to type the stuff in here to the console step by step. It doesn't work anyway. It's better to write scripts, save them, and then later execute the scripts. If you wanna save this file here, you can click here on Save. You can choose the folder where you want to save it, since it is a Python file. It makes a lot of sense to save it in the Python directory. Click on Save here. Then you also see immediately that here in the File Explorer this file pops up. Now that is incredibly useful. And this is actually everything we need to know here in the beginning. All the other features of Spyder we will learn on the fly. In order to get a better feeling of how you can actually interact with a computer through Python, it's probably best to play around a bit here with the console. As I said, the console is basically a direct connection to the computer. You can talk to the computer directly by using the Python language. And if you use the language correctly, so if you use it in the right syntax or the right grammar, the computer understands what you do and will execute your command. Let's try this by writing here some basic mathematical expressions. So, for example, 2 + 2 actually tells the computer to, well, add 2 by 2. And it does this correctly by returning 4. This works because here with the plus you made use of a so-called operator. Operators are symbols that tell Python to carry out a particular form of computation. So for example, the operator plus tells Python to use the mathematical operation of addition, at least if combined with two numbers. Now I suggest that you try to find out which operators help you to conduct these basic mathematical operations on your own. In case you don't want to do it, you can just continue the video and we solve it together, but I suppose it's probably more fun if you try it on your own. After working with Python for a while, it's very easy to actually remember these basic operators. Now to solve the quiz, we will actually make use of the scripts for the first time. To save the script, actually you can press Command S, and you can here choose the directory where to save the script. It makes a lot of sense to choose the Python directory. And now we can write the solutions to the exercises here in the script and then execute them later. Now the first question concerned the mathematical operation addition. We already learned about this. Addition is executed by using the plus operator. It is probably not so surprising that in case we want to subtract one number from the other, we can do this with a minus operator. If we want to multiply something, we can use the asterisk. And if we want to divide two numbers, we can do this by the slash. Now, in case you want to execute this command, as I indicated before, you can either mark here the code and then click on this symbol, or click F9 directly. You can do this also by marking more code. And you can also split your scripts into different cells. You can do this by writing in your scripts the hashtag and the 2 times the percent symbol. Then you will see this line emerging here on your script. The space between two of these markers is called a cell, and you can click on this button here to execute a whole cell. This is useful if you want to develop code, and we will use it a number of times here throughout the tutorial. But there's still the question of how to exponentiate numbers. If you want to exponentiate 2 by 2, you do this by 2 times the asterisk symbol in a row. And if you execute this, you actually see that it works perfectly. Now, it might be the case that you actually want to add comments to the script, so to explain to yourself what actually happens in this line. To do that, you can use the hashtag symbol. Everything that is written in a line after the hashtag symbol will be ignored by Python. So if we execute this whole line, actually Python only executes what's written before the hashtag. And this is very useful in particular in the beginning if you want to add nodes to the script that actually helps you to remind what's happening here. By the way, what is a bit more complicated is taking roots in Python, because there is no operator for taking roots. So you have to be a bit creative. So if you want to take the root of number 2, then what you can do, you can basically raise 2 to the power of a half, which is basically equivalent of taking the square root of this number, as you can verify here. We will learn about other ways of taking roots and do more complicated mathematical operations later, but for now this is actually already sufficient.